Blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne. The Hounds of Vengeance have unleashed from the depths of the Brass Citadel. With bloody fangs and claws, the blades of Khorne Spearhead rip and tear through the mortal realms. Do you have what it takes to be the alpha dog, or will you submit to the fangs of the Blood God? Hello everyone, my name is Darren and welcome to Coffee Hammer. The Blades of Khorne have gotten their full 4th edition release with a new battle tome, Deathbringer model and a couple of collection boxes. But for us Spearhead players, the Blades of Khorne Spearhead box is packed full of Khorne's savage hunters. In this review, we will break down the content of the box, calculate the value, analyse the rules and strategy, as well as talk about how one might expand beyond Spearhead. Hold on to your seats as we go full blood and no breaks with the Blades of Khorne Spearhead. So who are the Blades of Khorne? Demonic legions and mortal war hosts known as Bloodbounds dedicate themselves to the art of bloodshed, slaughter and martial prowess, all united by their devotion to the Bloodlord, the Taker of Skulls, the one and only Khorne, a chaos god of war, wrath and blood. If you heard of the phrase blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, that's Khorne. During the Age of Chaos, they wreaked havoc in the mortal realms, bringing destruction to countless settlements and establishing holy cities made of skulls to honour their god. They don't fight for wealth or honour in the traditional sense, they fight for the simple sake of bloodshed and to claim skulls for the skull throne. Fast forward 500 years to the Age of Sigmar, they are still a major threat in the mortal realms. Khorne was understandably offended by Nagash's Necroquake and all the magic bullshit manifesting around. His influence is still growing with the unending violent crusades as warriors continue to claim more lives for the blood god, and Khorne does not care from where the blood flows, even if it's from his own followers. The Fangs of the Blood God is an interesting spearhead as it focuses on the unique yet iconic part of the army, the Hounds and Karanak, Khorne's favourite doggo. In the box you get a total of 19 models, with Karanak leading the hunt, 2 lots of 5 Hounds and a unit of 8 Claws of Karanak. These hellish hunters are a horrific display of brutality with some of the best looking models, with the Claws of Karanak. Designed for Age of Sigmar Warcry, they are just full of character and designed with detail and story in mind. I mean, just look at these models. I just love how their helmets or masks are fashioned in the shape of Hounds, channeling their savagery to emulate the demonic rage. Their armour is a combination of skin, metal and fur, with chains and hooks swinging from their dynamic poses, with weapons designed to tear flesh from bone and brutalise their prey. The Claws of Karanak alone make this a great box. The Hounds are demonic hunting beasts of Khorne, part bestial, part reptilian, and they have a vague canine appearance with a muscular frame, sharp fangs and blood red scales. A notable feature is the Collar of Khorne, a spiked brass collar that is able to absorb and nullify spells, making them an excellent counter to wizards. While a single hound may not be as formidable as the pack, Karanak is the most powerful and feared of all Hounds. This unique demon is the physical embodiment of Khorne's vengeful wrath, a 3-headed monster that serves as Khorne's personal hunter and guardian of his throne. His 3 heads aren't just a copy of Hades' Cerberus, each has a specific purpose. The first head tracks its quarry across all of space and every mortal realm. No matter which realm you're in, his head is able to pick up your scent, ensuring there is no escape. The second head tracks its prey through time itself. It can see your past and future. And the final head hunts its prey within their own mind. It can track your movements through your dreams and thoughts. Only those who are truly insane can escape its perception. So yeah, the Fangs of the Blood God are truly terrifying and a force of Khorne's wrath. If you were to buy each unit separately, Karanak costs £26, 5 Hounds cost £37 and the Claws of Karanak cost £37 as well, which brings the total cost to £137. Buying the Spearhead box will save you $49.50 and that's a nice discount of 36%. A great value for money if you're looking to get into Khorne or adding some Hounds to your collection. It's not a Spearhead box that I would recommend getting multiple of, as Karanak is a unique hero that you can only use one of in your 2000 points army. 2 units of 5 Hounds is a good amount, and the Claws of Karanak are not a unique infantry unit, but they cannot be reinforced. When it comes to the unique battle trait, your Spearhead force has 2 abilities. The first is the Quarry, an ability you use at the start of the battle round, so every battle round. If no enemy units are the Quarry, pick an enemy hero to be the Quarry and you can pick an enemy hero in reserve. This ability will make more sense when we read Karanak's Warscroll, but you basically mark an enemy hero as the quarry until it is slain, and then you can pick a new enemy hero at the start of the next battle round if your opponent has any left. The second battle trait ability is called Blood Drenched, a once per turn end of any turn. So end of every turn, you pick a friendly unit that slew any models using a fight ability this turn to be the target. For the rest of the battle, the target's melee weapons have crit mortals. Crit mortals is one of the best weapon abilities you can get on your melee units, bypassing wound rolls and save rolls. You need your unit to have killed at least one model in the combat phase. It could be a lonely Steelhelm all the way up to a Gargant. It's at the end of any turn, so you can really get the ball rolling and give your whole army crit mortals, which is really hardcore. I love this ability as it really rewards you for being aggressive, which you want to be with your melee focused army. Let's look at the top dog himself, Karanak. He is a beast hero with 18-inch movement, 7 health on a 5+ save and a control value of 2. So not that survivable with only 7 health on a 5+ save, but he does have that ward of 6+. In combat he has 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, Ren 1, damage 2 with the anti-hero +1 Ren weapon ability, which means Ren 2 when his attacks target a hero. His combat profile is similar to most infantry heroes in the game, but with that extra anti-hero +1 Ren. He can also be the target for Blood Drenched, giving his attacks crit mortals. Charge in, kill a hero with his claws and get Blood Drenched at the end of the turn seems pretty good to me. Stalk the Prey is an ability you use in any hero phase, so every hero phase. This unit can move d6 inches. It cannot end that move in combat unless it was in combat at the start of the move, and if there is an enemy quarry on the battlefield, it must end that move closer to the quarry. Movement based abilities are always good, and Stalk the Prey is very powerful. First, it's every hero phase, so you get a free d6 move with Karanak. If the quarry is alive, you have to end your move closer to it, but it doesn't say how much closer. So as long as you are a fraction closer to it than when you started, it still counts. And if you do kill a hero and there is no quarry, you just get to move him d6 every hero phase. If he is in combat at the start of the move, he can potentially move from one combat to another or even out of combat. This ability is ridiculously good, one of the best abilities I've seen in a while, and could potentially get a nerf if GW are too scared of Khorne's favourite dog. Running alongside Karanak, you have 2 units of 5 Flesh Hounds. These tenacious beasts move 8 inches, have 2 health each on a 6+ save, a 6+ ward with a control value of 1. Slightly faster than your standard infantry unit, but slower than other cavalry, and a paper thin defense with a 6+ save and 6+ ward. In combat, their Blood Dark Claws have 4 attacks each, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, no Ren, damage 1. The no Ren does mean that they will have a tough time chewing through high armor save units like Stormcast and Caradron, but the high volume of attacks make them a prime target for the Blood Drenched battle trait ability, just so long as they have slain a model. To get them into combat, their passive Unflagging Hunters adds 1 to their charge rolls. +1 to charge is good, making a 3-inch charge impossible to fail on 2d6. It looks like the main strategy of this unit is to throw them into the weakest part of the enemy lines and try to snatch up a model to give them crit mortals. The high volume of attacks synergizes well with crit mortals as you want to be rolling lots of dice regardless of the quality of the attacks. To round off the unit, it also has the reinforcement ability, letting you bring back a destroyed unit in your movement phase. The Core for reinforcement ability lets you set up the replacement unit wholly within friendly territory, wholly within 6 inches of the battlefield edge and not in combat. So depending on the board state, you can be quite close to an enemy unit, and their +1 to charge rolls really helps them get back into the carnage as soon as they come into play. And the Claws of Karanak are a unit of 8 infantry mortals that move 6 inches with 1 health each on a 5+ save and have a control value of 1. So 1 better save but no wards. They carry weapons of the hunt that have 3 attacks each, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, no Ren, damage 1, and the crit 2 hits weapon ability. So the unit has a total of 24 attacks with 6s to hit, scoring 2 hits instead of 1. They're not as fast as Flesh Hounds with 6-inch movement, but they do have a lot of attacks in combat. To supplement their bloodthirsty nature, the Pack Hunter's ability is used in any combat phase, so every combat phase before fight abilities are declared. You pick an enemy unit in combat with both this unit and a friendly Flesh Hounds unit to be the target. For the rest of the turn, this unit's combat attacks that target that enemy unit scores critical hits on an unmodified hit roll of 5+. This ability works really well for the Claws. They have a high volume of attacks, and converting 1/3 of your hit rolls into additional hits is very effective. This works hand in hand if the Claws are blood drenched. Giving them crit mortals on 5+ instead of 6+ is utterly brutal. They too have the reinforcement ability, letting you bring them back in your movement phase, which means you have a total of 3 reinforcement units. The reinforcement ability is once per turn, so you can't bring multiple destroyed units in the same turn. So get the blood flowing early if you want to maximize the value of your units. The Warscrolls are very aggressive but not very fast. The units have pretty bad armor saves as well, even with that 6+ ward, but can be brought back to the battlefield with the reinforcement ability. So far, loving how the Warscrolls look, and the battle trait is unique and really brings out the lethality of your units. For Regiment Abilities, you can pick one of the following. The Scent of Blood is a passive. Add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks that target an enemy unit that had any damage points allocated to it this phase. This is pretty good for units that mostly hit on falls, making them more accurate in combat. The damage point allocated has to be during the same phase, so damage from out of combat phase abilities do not count towards it. The +1 to hit effect is not limited to a single unit, so you can potentially be getting +1 to hit against 2 or more units. While Savagery upon Savagery is a once per battle any combat phase ability, you pick a friendly unit in combat with an enemy unit that has any melee weapons with a higher attacks characteristic than any of the friendly unit's melee weapons to be the target. For the rest of the turn, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the target's melee weapons. If the target is a hero, add D3 to the attacks characteristic of its melee weapons instead. Oof, that's a lot of words. To try and explain, you have a unit in combat, you pick your unit to be the target. If the enemy unit in combat with yours has a higher attacks characteristic, so not the total attacks but the attacks in its Warscroll is higher, you can add 1 to the target's unit's attacks characteristic for the rest of the turn. D3 if your unit is a hero. Okay, well first off, your units already have a really high attacks characteristic to begin with, probably higher than most other units. The Flesh Hounds have 4 attacks each and the Claws have 3. To get this off, you need them to be in range of an enemy unit like a hero that has 5 or more attacks. The +1 attacks is perfect on your Claws and even Flesh Hounds. Getting 8 extra attacks on them or 5 on the dogs is perfect if they are blood drenched. Both Regiment Abilities are pretty good. Scent of Blood is probably the better option and the one you pick the most. It works every combat phase and on multiple units, while Savagery upon Savagery is nice to have, but it's only once per battle and it requires some setup to pull off. Khorne's favour is flowing. Let's see what special enhancements you can give to your general. Sustained by Gore is an ability he uses at the end of any turn. If any damage points were allocated to an enemy unit by your general's combat attacks this turn, heal 1 to your general. Healing 1 at the end of every turn is a nice way to keep his health topped up, because he has a pretty bad defense. He doesn't have to kill a model, just deal at least 1 point of damage and he can heal 1 back. Also, it does not heal 1 per damage point allocated, so no healing like a vampire. Evasive Hunter is a passive, subtract 1 from hit rolls and wound rolls for shooting attacks that target your general. This is perfect against shooting heavy armies. One weakness of your general is his poor armor save, and shooting can punch through your general before he has a chance to bite back. It's both -1 to hit and -1 to wound, making this passive doubly effective. Killing Pounce is a once per battle any charge phase ability. For the rest of the turn, when making charge rolls for your general, you can roll 1 additional dice to a maximum of 3, but if you do, you must finish that charge in combat with a quarry. A once per battle 3d6 charge is nice to have. It may not be as important for your general as he can already move d6 in any hero phase to get closer to the quarry, so less likely to pick this enhancement over the previous 2. And the last one is Furious Bites, an end of any turn ability, so end of every turn. If your general is in combat with the quarry, inflict d3 mortal damage on the quarry. A guaranteed d3 mortal damage on the quarry is bloody good, and you can finish off an enemy hero with this ability and potentially break him free from combat. Dealing mortal damage is a way to get around heroes with good armor saves and is more effective the more heroes the enemy army has. So the general has a good selection of enhancements to choose from. Killing Pounce is good, but not as important as a pick because Karanak can move d6 already in the hero phase. The only time I would pick this is if the quarry is the most important model in the opponent's army and I really need to get behind enemy lines to attack it, then it's a maybe. Evasive Hunters is good against shooting armies, which leaves us with Sustained by Gore and Furious Bites. Both are really good end of turn abilities. D3 mortal damage plays well into armies with multiple heroes as it only targets the quarry unit, or healing 1 at the end of every turn is great for keeping Karanak alive for longer. So I think Sustained by Gore would be my top pick. Unless I really want my opponent's hero to be dead, then I'll consider Furious Bites. This is one of the more interesting and unique spearhead armies out. While most spearheads give you a selection of different units with easy to understand roles that showcase what the faction is like, the Fangs of the Blood God is a pure slice of a small and often overlooked part of the Blades of Khorne. I have to say I was initially disappointed with the reveal of the spearhead. I was hoping to see bloodletters, blood crushers and other demonic creatures, but after reviewing their rules and abilities, I am thoroughly impressed by this army. It is a pure melee focused army with high damage potential through its blood drenched battle trait ability. Karanak is a beast in combat and has a great selection of enhancements to bolster his presence on the battlefield. And the Warscrolls and abilities synergize so well with each other, with many overlapping buffs and interactions, which makes this army very fun to play and master. However, not everything is perfect with this army. The army has a very bad defensive stats with 5 and 6+ armor saves on your units. Their fragility might make them feel weak in combat, and some armies can steamroll through their paper thin save and create feel bad moments, especially for new players. Or Teeth and Claws, you have a lot of attacks that work well with blood drenched battle trait, but 0 Ren means you will struggle to get damage through to begin with, especially against armies that have good armor saves like Stormcast or Karajan Overlords. The Fangs of the Blood God Spearhead Box is packed with all the teeth and claws you need to tear through your enemies. It has some of the best looking models in the Blades of Khorne faction, with ferocious Warscrolls and abilities to match their murder lust. It's not for the faint of heart, as their savage nature cuts both ways, making them a difficult army to lead and a challenge for newer players. If you're someone who is looking for a more well-rounded spearhead that is more forgiving for a beginner, I would not recommend this box. If you have decided to devote yourself to Khorne and are looking to start crusading for the Lord of Skulls, this Spearhead Box is a great pickup to add to your growing collection. To expand your force beyond Spearhead and towards a 2000 points army, these are the things you will want to consider. The Blades of Khorne Battle Tome contains the background lore, new rules and Warscrolls, everything you need to build lists of demonic legions and bloodbound war hosts, including 2 unique armies of renown. The Judgment of Khorne are invocations that are summoned by Khorne priests with different abilities ranging from messing with enemy spellcasting to slaying models in combat. You don't want to be missing out on executing judgment on Khorne's enemies. The Skull Altar is your big faction terrain piece that lets you generate blood tithe points by banishing endless spells off the battlefield. A great piece to have, but not as important to have when starting out your collection. To get more value out of your money, the previous Spearhead Box has a great selection of units to grow the bloodbound side of your collection. It contains a Slaughter Priest, 3 Mighty Skull Crushers, 10 Blood Warriors and 10 Blood Reavers. It's also a powerful force and a great army to play a competitive game of Spearhead. There are 2 other bundles to consider as well. The Goreblade Warband has an odd collection of 5 Blood Warriors, not enough to make a single unit, but it also has 10 Blood Reavers, a Korgorath, a Mighty Lord of Khorne, a Blood Secretor and a Blood Stoker. Some important heroes to supplement the bloodbound side of the faction. And the Red Revelation is a Regiment of Renown box, providing another Slaughter Priest, 10 more Blood Reavers and 5 Skull Reapers that can be built as Wrathmongers instead. If you are hoping to get more demons at a more reasonable price, I'm afraid there are no bundles for them. When it comes to centerpiece models, Bloodthirsters are the most iconic models in the whole game. These champions of Khorne demonic legions possess supreme martial skills, destructive weapons and horrific power. The Bloodthirster kit is easily customizable with different heads, weapons and accessories, letting you design the most bloodthirsty of nightmares you want. I can't wait to see what they have in store for Khorne's Cull. I'm hoping to see him as a Demon Prince or a completely new Demon Mortal hybrid would be metal as hell. And that brings us to the end of the Blades of Khorne Spearhead review. What do you think? Are you going to devote yourself to Khorne and claim skulls for the Skull Throne? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your takes on this Spearhead box. Subscribe if you haven't already, or Karanak is going to hunt you down. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!